Everybody knows the good guys lost. Everybody knows the fight was fixed. The poor stay poor, the rich get rich. That's how it goes. Everybody knows.
And welcome to the Grassroots Connection, where we provide the information you need to make an informed decision. And today we have in studio with us Rich Bolen, our special guest on Wednesday, and we're going to be looking at politics here in the greater Columbia area and the state. So stick with us. It'll be a fun show. Thanks for joining us again, and it's my privilege to bring you this information. We're streaming at WOIC.com. That's WOIC.com. You enter that into your search engine or browser. Our homepage pops up, and then you scroll down and scroll down again until you see the Grassroots Connection. And you tap on that. That brings you into the stream, brings you into the chat room. And if you're a Stickum member, you can then list any URLs or anything else you'd like in that chat room. We have Bright Futures moderating for us today. So as long as it's not obscene or vulgar, we don't have a problem with it. All right, so our call-in number today, 742-1230. 742-1230 gets you in. And toll-free at 888-671-7278. Now, you may see some pictures during the break that you're not familiar with, and I'll explain those later. But for now, let's just go ahead and jump in. Hey, Rich, how you doing, man?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, doing good.
Good.
So what'd you bring us today? A little topic about Alvin Green.
Yeah, I figure we're getting pretty close to the election, and
We
the
are.
Alvin Green story is a very interesting story, not so much for the race itself, but just for the whole way it came about and the effect it's had on a lot of different things.
Absolutely. Are you a fan of Alvin Green's? Just, right out of the bat, I'm going to ask you that.
He hasn't really articulated any plans or ideas or things that I really have a strong disagreement with.
Yeah, well, keep in mind that this is the head of the Republican Party in Lexington County. And hence the question, we've got Republicans that actually like Alvin Green. I mean, they don't find him distasteful. And if he won, I'm sure they would be fairly happy. And then on the other hand, we have Democrats who are vehemently against him. And he is running as a Democratic candidate. So it's bewildering, to say the least, as to how this stuff is working out. Well, what do you see, Rich?
Well, it's one of those things that no one predicted or expected, and when it happened, they were not prepared to deal with it. Vic Rawl was running against him as a senatorial candidate, and everyone was sure he was going to win. It was going to be a landslide, and I don't even know that he put any signs up. He
Wow.
was sure he was going to win, and he didn't. He coasted the whole time, and June 8th, he lost.
Well,
And nobody ever heard of Alvin Green on June
At all.
8th. Even the people that voted for him, I can't imagine many of them heard of him. I had never heard of him. I mean, I saw his name on campaign lists and things, but I didn't know who he was or what he was doing. And when he won, it was a shock.
well, when I saw it, the first thing I thought right off the bat, here we have a former veteran or a veteran, college educated, unemployed, like a lot of Americans right now. I saw the vote as a voice of the people in dissent against the established candidates. That's what I saw.
Absolutely, on paper, there's nothing wrong with Alvin Green. It's it's kind of an everyman
Yeah, well,
candidate, and he certainly, on paper, until you get to know him, seems like a very reasonable candidate, and I think that's why he won.
yeah, well, and let's be truthful. The media's decided to slander him with charges of what is that?
Displaying pornography to another person.
To another person, and that was an adult person, yes?
Right. Those charges are very odd to me. I don't know all the details, but it does seem to me that they're a bit of a stretch.
Well, it seems like maybe someone who doesn't like him too much is wielding some power and, maybe causing investigators to look into his background simply because he's the candidate.
Well, it's odd. There's a more recent development. They've charged him with an additional misdemeanor charge, I believe, and he was already charged with a felony charge.
Wow.
And they just added this recently, and he had to go to court. He was in court last week and had his bond set, and they left his bond where it was, and he's free to go. But the weird thing is that he was these charges were brought after he was the Democrat nominee.
Huh.
And the solicitor in Richland County is Barney Gazay, and he's a Democrat,
Right.
even though his dad was a Republican. And Leon Lott, the sheriff, is a Democrat.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I don't know exactly why they couldn't wait till November 3rd to bring these charges, why it was so important for them to bring these charges
Before the campaign.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to think about, but I don't know how to explain.
It sure looks weird, doesn't it? It doesn't look good. Let's put it that way. And I gotta admit, I supported the Democrats in the last election. And when I saw this with Alvin Green, my antennas were going up, and I started trying to find Alvin Green and listen to him. I did hear him on a local show, and although not the most articulate, I think he was sincere in what he did want to do, and he kind of ran on a campaign of justice. That's the one thing I took out of it. He wants to see social justice, some things change. And let's be frank, there's a lot of things that need to be changed. So I didn't have a problem with him after listening to him at all.
Well, it's funny. He won basically on change, and he was the non-establishment candidate for the Democrat Party.
Wow.
Just like the Tea Party. That was a Freudian slip. Tea Party candidates were the anti-establishment candidates
for the
on
Republicans.
the Republican side.
Yeah.
So all the way across the spectrum, it looks like everybody's unhappy with the government we have now.
Absolutely. I see a lot of that, and I'm still just trying to figure out what old Alvin Green did to deserve all this vitriol from the Democrats. I mean, I've heard Senator Clyburn and other people talk about it, and it was negative. It wasn't positive at all.
Right. It's odd because it defeats their purpose.
You would think so.
He is their nominee whether they like it or not, so they might as well make the best of it.
That's what I would do.
Make lemonade out of lemons, as the old expression goes. What benefit there is to trashing him now when he's the nominee? You might as well just grin and bear it and hope to get through this election and deal with it next time.
That's what I would do. But, I'm hearing a lot about this, I think Tom Clements.
Right. He's the third party.
The third party candidate. And, I have nothing against him. I've never met him or heard him speak. I'd, if he's out there and you want to come in and talk to me, just, ring my phone. I have no problems. But, I mean, why should I support Mr. Clements over Alvin Green? I have no idea.
Right, but he is leading right now. He's up 12-11 over Alvin Green.
Oh, yeah,
in the latest poll. So
yeah,
and of course Jim DeMint's got 58%. So
right. Now, yeah, let's focus in for just a moment on Mr. DeMint and being the head or chairman of the Republican Party in Lexington. How do Republicans feel about DeMint? Just
he's a local hero.
He's a local hero.
In Lexington, he definitely is. He's very popular over there.
Wow.
And he's popular statewide. He's got 58%, and the state's not probably 58% Republican. So he's got a lot of Democrats supporting him.
Wow.
And he
wow.
The most interesting thing to me is the fact that he is so comfortable with his lead in South Carolina. He's gone all over the country helping other candidates, which he would not be able to do if he had
a real
race
fight.
Here. That's
a
right.
real fight.
So he's made, raised money for his campaign, and now he's able to go and use it in other races that he would otherwise have nothing to do with, and it's actually helped other Republicans because the Democrat Party
won't support their own candidate.
That's
yeah. Well, I know you probably don't know the answer to this, but I'd like to know the answer. Is the Democratic Party in South Carolina actually contributing to Alvin Green's campaign fund now that he is the candidate, or have they just literally abandoned him and left him out there on his own? I know the guy's unemployed. He doesn't have a lot of money.
I don't know for sure, but I have not seen any story saying that they are supporting him. I know they are supporting Vince Shaheen, and the money they have is going to candidates that they think have a legitimate shot at winning.
Yeah.
And so they would say Alvin Green is too weak, that it doesn't do any good to give him money, so that's why they're concentrating on other candidates.
Well, I would say the reason he's weak is because you haven't supported him. You've basically isolated him and ostracized him. Right. That would make anyone weak, especially if it's their own party doing that to them. I'm looking in the chat room, and I see Obsidian, I find it hard to believe that Democrats, are following DeMint, given his background. I do too. I mean, I really don't understand unless they've just basically changed affiliations, and this is the most expedient way to assure a Republican, dominated victory in South Carolina. So, but what do you see?
Well, you may be right. There may not be much Democrat support for DeMint, but certainly there's independent support because 58% is not all Republican.
Oh, yeah,
so,
definitely.
And it would not surprise me if on Election Day he pulls in 70%.
Wow. Well, I can't even believe it myself that he would be that popular given the track record of the Republican Party in South Carolina in the past elections. There was a call to get rid of what I call neocons, in that they typically support the wars of aggression overseas. And I see that as the thing that is bankrupting our country and putting us in debt to China more than anything else. So, when I listen to, I guess, physically conservative people or pundits, it always strikes me odd that they never really consider the true where all our money's going, where the black hole is. The black hole is military spending right now, and the Obama administration isn't curtailing that in the least. He's actually increasing it. So I don't know. I'm just confused. I can't tell a Republican from a Democrat anymore. I just don't know.
That's the common complaint across America, and that's why the Tea Party and people like Alvin Green are winning, because a lot of voters don't want either of them, either party.
Yeah.
And they're just looking for somebody different.
Right.
The problem is the system is so entrenched, it's hard to get a third-party candidate into a position where they can actually win an election. So at that point, with that recognition, you go to an unknown candidate in a known party.
Right.
And that's what Alvin Green was, and that's what a lot of these candidates are, that unseated incumbents.
Yeah. Let's see. I've got some more in the chat room here. I find it hard to... So they are Dems in name only, is what Obsidian's saying there, these Democrats that, kind of jumped the fence. Yeah, I guess maybe. Maybe they're independent, as Rich mentioned, and really don't have a strong affiliation with either the right or the left, which is where I'm at right now. And yeah, I had a really good question. We're almost into a break. Maybe I'll save it for after the break, but this one's been killing me. A lot of people just mention, they just come flat out with it. Bottom line, Republicans support Alvin Green ostensibly, basically because he is weak, and they know that DeMint will dominate him in any election. What do you think of that? Well, I'm going to get your answer after we come back from this break. We're going to open up the phone lines, and we have Rich in once a week. I think he loves callers, so please call in and challenge him. Again, you've got chairman of the Republican Party in Lexington County right here, right now on Grassroots Connection. And we'll be right back after this commercial break. You may see some funny images, but don't worry, we will be back. We'll talk to you in just a moment.